Alright, cool. We're live. Nice, nice. Alright, let me just copy the video link and then we're good to go. Sweet. Alright, let's see what we get. Guide to onboarding software engineers. Build a faster file transfer protocol. Yeah, I guess there's not really too much news today. I don't know. Lately, I've just been kind of not really reading too much hacker news. I think mostly because even though I read them, there's not really I feel like at the bottom of each of the articles, it's almost always the exact same thing. You know, it's like a common principle that I've seen before and that I know about, and I'm just like thinking to myself, oh, this is a cool example, but it's not like, well, it's not like it's actually useful to me. So that's been kind of a problem for me. I haven't really been actually reading these, and I haven't really, I would say, found a use. Huh. I guess I could watch some Dota, actually. It's been a really long time since I've actually watched and played video games, even. I guess, like, for the most part, I've just been almost entirely just reading books. Oh. Oh. Okay, looks like someone said my audio is low, so hopefully this is better. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll watch some Dota and we can chill and chat while that shit's going on. I don't know, I just haven't really been motivated to, like, do much. God, I'm getting lazy. Is this a, no, it's still mid-ember, actually. I thought it was support for some reason. Oh, buffering. Fuck it.
He's in. In the meantime, Jab's trying to chase down Asta, but they missed the bushwhack. Had they landed that, I think you might have had another TV kill, but the bushwhack was just off the mark. So instead, Fnatic, they're going to go towards that top tier 2 tower. And it's going to be very easy pickings, especially while you've got Raven here with that metaphor. So OB Neon, they're going to try and slow this down as Enryu will jump in, but the snowball is there from Jabs. Yules to just juke out the bushwhacks to Armel. He's copying a lot of damage as Asta. He's trying to move in. Jabs dropping and does go down. A nice pick up there from OB Neon. About it, though.
Oh, they went for a physical build, damn Ember. Interesting.
Even wait out the Aegis timing. Maybe now OB Neon can try to make some moves here against Fnatic.
Yeah, and with a Scotty up on Asta, you can get control on that DK, onto that Morphling a lot better. So as long as Asta's got that metamorphosis, they can choose their fights now.
I mean, if y'all have any questions.
Fnatic are just too quick on the They still have superior map control. They still have the options to back off and farm elsewhere, although they will be playing under Neon Vision.
Interesting.
But Neon's ward investment should pay off, considering where Fnatic wants to play right now.
Hey man, I'm doing good. How about yourself? I've just been kind of like, I don't know, like I've just been kind of chilling and reading actually for the most part. I haven't actually done I've never been as active as I usually am when it comes to like reading online stuff. I like I said in the past, like I've just kind of reached this point where it's like, oh, everything article kind of like reads the same now.
okay. Scientist already used up from Avatar mode, so he cannot scout him out. They won't even bother trying, even with the remnants. Now Fnatic, they've grouped up again, Jonathan. 4-man smoke, Raven. He'll just stand behind the team. His jabs, he'll take the front line, smoke broken, but Armil jumps in, missed the stun of the Sand King, but it won't matter. They've already got Jing. Bang, he's gonna try and TP out, but they've just got so much damage. Even Genuel on this Pos 5 gyrocopter, just ripping him apart. And again, OB Neon just forced to back towards the base. So they just can't catch a break.
Yeah, it's a bit tough. You can see Bang already spamming the GG well played on his ally chat. So it's a bit of the state of the game there. I think the issues for Neon are mainly maybe down to draft. Like, it feels like this kind of draft requires very specific execution. They had to play around with the Burst Strike Inkswell, which we saw a little bit in the early game. Asta's not safe here as well, TJ.
Oh, no, he's not, John. No, he is not. They've got the Fatal Discord on top of it. My God, it's just so much magic, Cam.
Oh, DJ,
How
boss.
this?
You don't. I really feel like it's the stat resist that really holds you down. You saw how long that stun was at the end? Like, the bar was moving so slow. It's just ridiculous how much that gives you.
Dude, DJ is so
And
fucking
again, for
good.
Neon, it feels like
Hey,
this
Justin,
lineup
what's
needs
up?
you to play in a very specific style.
I want to
Maybe
ask
even
a
without
chance to
your
make
lane
my
map,
stock
or
valuation
map
program
sometimes
open source.
and
No,
your
man,
lane.
do your own work.
It also comes down to hero choice. Like, Bang plays a
Like,
very roamy
it's not
Jhin
difficult. The
plays a
the
really
stock
roamy
valuation program
pause
is
forward.
not
Well,
a
you don't really do that
what's
in
it called?
Deep Red Light, frankly. We've seen Jing play
It's
stuff
not
like the Mirana himself. We've seen him
difficult to
play
make,
even
actually.
some
If
of
you
the
know
Whisper
how to
before
calculate, let's say, free cash
Sapphire,
flow. If you know how to calculate,
aggressive,
you know,
supports that
projecting
can play
EBITDA,
make.
and
Don't
all that
really
stuff,
play make on the
it's
keeper.
really not that bad.
You could
That's really
you could
it.
play with some setup on the
All it
Sand
really
King,
takes is for you
but
to
can't
actually
do
try
independently. I
and
think
learn
that's what held back
how to
Neon from
actually do
finding
these
that
things.
early momentum.
Like,
They
what does it
moved
mean to do
to
free cash flow to
line
firm
up.
versus free cash flow to equity? And that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
And then it's just fine tuning your adjustments
Alright.
for things like
Fine.
what's it called, how far
Four heroes
out,
up
like
top,
what
he'll just
terminal
go for a
weight
solo kill and TP
growth
out.
is,
mean, it's-
and yeah,
was it the,
and then
the
like maybe you want to
classic
add back
high-risk,
in
low-reward play
some
you
other
from
factors. Like,
Fnatic
let me give you an example.
Right, I suppose
So if you
it
calculate free
works.
cash flow, right? This is basically your net income minus any any kind of
You know, any kill to
what's it called?
rush your
Oh
abs
god,
or
is it
Jhin,
capital
or whatever,
expenditures?
you
Yeah, I think it's capital expenditure. But
save
and
yourself at the very
you
least, no smoke,
add
so
back
great.
in
Unfortunately,
what Warren
Ronaldo's
Buffett does is essentially
check.
take that, but then it adds back in the
TP out there, so he's
depreciation.
not under actual threat. But
Yeah.
Fnatic, they just
It's been a
maintained
while,
this
but I'm
map
pretty sure
control
that's what it is.
for
Free.
the past 15, maybe even 20
I used to know this one.
minutes.
Yeah, it should be net income minus.
They could just
Yeah.
wait out this next
So
round.
net operating profit after
Way
tax. So that's net
there's
income
no
minus
pressure on
capital
that.
expenditures.
All the pressure is still
And then
on
you
Neon.
within that net
Mind you,
income,
again,
usually
I
you
still
have
to
some
point out Asta is
heuristic
within
like
2000
or some
gold
weird stuff like
before, so
depreciation and amortization
considering how
or
bad this game has been,
something like
it's
that.
still a factor.
And so what Warren Buffett does is argue that, well, this really isn't an
They
expense
found a psychic link
if
there,
you're
and
trying to
he's
depreciate
very happy
goodwill,
with that.
especially if you're trying to depreciate goodwill,
They can
because
give it over to him. He's got-
it is
no, they are
income
gonna
that you
give it
expect
over
it to
him. Of
happen,
course they
right?
are.
So you add that back in.
Dream item for a hoodwink player, Jonathan.
And so that's how you get like
Cast
quote
rate
unquote
really
owner
does get
operating
quite
earnings,
annoying.
right? But then there's a
Fnatic,
few
they're
other things
waiting
that you
for a
can do
fight. Henry's the one to jump
as
in.
well. Like
On
some of the
to
stuff
Januel,
in
they
my
might
bot,
just
I
burst out this
basically do
gyrocopter
free
and they'll get
what's it
him.
called? I project
Mel still moving forward,
EBITDA
trying to go
and
after Sand King. Missed
other
the stun
factors
again,
like
but they've
that,
got the
which
bushwhack.
is
It's the
more of
boomerang
a
and the
niche
sharpshooter,
calculation.
DJ.
But
Just
for the
getting
most
it
part,
on
it's
his own.
not anything that
In
I
the
think is
meantime,
worth
Jing just gets
sweating over.
destroyed by Raven. He'll go for a BKB TP out.
Anyway, my point here is that if
DJ literally
you
just
want to like
Just solo the Sand King, John, and now Jabs
what's
jumps
it called?
in again.
If you
All
want to
right,
write a bot
Jabs
like
gonna
that,
get
that's
out this
fine.
time.
You should also
Apparently
keep in
he
mind
can.
that if you're just
Just
most of
TP.
it is just projecting out what we've seen in the past,
Just TP,
and
nothing can go through
that
TP.
is almost always
Okay, that was a
like
bit more high
mediocre
risk
to
when
low
it still works out.
reward,
He gets
but
some
high
good
probability.
yards now, so he's got the wall
Whereas
pick.
usually you
Can,
want to prepare for
reposition
very
using
big
these
price
fights, drag
actions
the
and
back lines
swings.
to the front line. It's easier to handle.
Because that's usually
Can
where the
really
most money's
put
made,
the
because
terrible
everyone
awkward
in the
position.
fucking world is
gets
trying
thrown
to
away in the
project
middle of a
the
fight,
exact same thing
it's
this
not
bot
gonna
does.
feel
That's the
great.
thing.
It's
This
also
bot
not
doesn't
gonna
actually give
come
you
back
the
to the
price,
analysis.
like an accurate prediction protection, right? Because anything can happen. What it does give you is gives you a projection. There's a difference. It doesn't predict the future. It doesn't like accurately predict the future. It just projects out what already exists. And for the most part, 90%, I would say most of the time, as long as people are being rational, or at least somewhat rational, they're going to just do exactly the same thing. The problem is that most people are not rational, and so really, it's like, for instance, oh God, I'm so afraid of all of the entire market, I'm going to sell off everything. You know, everything just becomes fucking correlated when, you know, things such as like, how to say, like things that are opposites, that are supplementary to each other, should technically inverse in price. And this is exactly what happened with long-term capital management. Where things that were supposed to be uncorrelated or inversely correlated just ended up being correlated, which is exactly what happens during a panic. Everything becomes correlated because everything gets sold off. So really, when it comes to investing, you really want to look for those mispriced opportunities, or the things where people are being inefficient about, or where people have completely mispriced it. So this bot just kind of gives you like a guess at hey, yeah, this is like what we projected out in the past. This is what we think will be in the future. Do with it what you want based on these XYZ factors. That's kind of the best way I can tell you how to do these calculations. But otherwise, it's really trivial. I know that's kind of long and roundabout, but it's like I think people really have the misconception of investing of like, oh, I buy a good company and then you know, it'll print me money later on down the road. We only invest to grow wealth, right? But the thing is, there's like so many other angles to it. Like, for instance, you would not pay a $250 for Apple, right? You wouldn't. So why would you pay $40,000 for its stock? It's the exact same principle. So it's like, okay, well, let's bring it down. $20,000 for its stock. No, $10,000 for its stock. No, 500. No, not really. 200. Not really. 100. Like 100. Okay, probably. But then, how do you get to that number? How do you decide when it's worth it to buy and when it's not? Because if you buy it at too high a price, it might grow into its multiple. But then you also need to consider, well, what if the market is just like at some point just decides to not be as bullish on Apple anymore, right? You have like that % premium that you're taking from the future and bring it to the present and just buying ahead of the time. That's effectively what overpriced means. Like, hey, I think that this multiple or whatever, this valuation will stay this high based on what the market is paying. And so it's like there's so much more than that. The ratio is only just a start to these things. It's never an end all be all. And so what's important, it's not just important like what type of company you buy. It's also the price you pay for it. That's why, like, anyone who tells you to just like say, oh, I'm going to trade based on historical averages, the ratio is doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's fucking bullshit. If you want an interesting take on this, you can look up Nifty 50, 1970s Nifty 50, NIFTY, FIFTY. Basically, it was this idea to extreme. What reasons did I start to learn about finance, like personal finance noobs? I feel like a lot of articles and advice out there are very generic. Yeah, for personal finance, it almost doesn't really matter that much. Like, anything will work. Just, you know, like the basic principle. Everything you should know about personal finance should stay on a note card, honestly. It just means save your money, invest in max out your tax-deferred accounts, invest in index funds. And don't spend a lot of money that you don't have. That's it. It just be as efficient as possible with your fucking money. There's not really anything else to it. I'm not a financial advisor, but like I think that's pretty fucking common knowledge.
Wait a minute. DJ, how does that work?
Yeah, buy S&P. It's like I will tell you to buy the S&P. Like the reason why is because like over time, like by definition of the average, like S&P just is the weighted average of all the companies, right? Of all the top 500 companies or whatever fuck. And so your goal as an investor is to beat the S&P, right? So by definition, only half of the entire capital in the world can beat the S&P, and other half will fall below the S&P. But that's not exactly true. One is that you still pay some fees when you invest in an index fund, so it's slightly tilted. So that way, there's less people who beat the S&P than those who don't. And then, of course, like the distributed gain is actually not symmetric; it's asymmetric, very heavily towards like the top 1% because the bottom 99%. Most of the time, they're just like buying in and out of stocks, and they pay like friction costs to that. They buy the wrong stocks because it's overhyped and all that dumb shit. So effectively, you're basically competing against idiots for like most of it, but that still won't get you to beat the S&P. strictly speaking. After that, you still need to have like some kind of what we call alpha, which is some knowledge that most people do not, or the market by and large does not factor in, or does not know about, or is not thinking about, I should say. And that's how you beat the S&P effectively. It's like, can you consistently do what the market doesn't and be more right than the market? That's what beating the S&P means. Do you know more than the market, and can you act on it in the right way? And turns out that's really fucking hard to do. Like, even right now, I'm only barely beating the S&P. And only barely because, like, fucking Chinese stocks kill me. But outside of the China, if you take away the Chinese stock, I do pretty well, actually. Like, really, really fucking well. But, you know, that's like kind of saying, oh, if you don't count this one massive loss for these traders that blew up their accounts, they beat the S&P, you know? It's just like that. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter if you make like $50 million for the firm if you lose like $100 million in 2 minutes. So that's basically what happens to every single trader, to be honest, that loses their career. Anyway, enough about that. Let's bring on my client. I think it's about time. Yep. Okay, calling him. Let's see what's up. Hey, hello? Hello? I can't hear you, and there's no voice coming through. Hello? Oh wait, hold up. I see a sound coming through. Hold up. All right, there we go. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yeah, you're a little bit quiet, by the way.
Quiet.
It could be just my side. Hold up.
Just a minute. I'm gonna just do a thing here. Hold up.
Okay, I think we're good.
Can you hear me good? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Great. Yeah, so cool. Let's see. Catch me up on everything that's been going on. How has your dynamic programming gone? All that jazz.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry about this background sound. It's outside on the street.
Okay,
Anyway.
that's fine.
I've been like trying to get even in the dynamic programming questions, the instinct that you mentioned, right, on Tuesday. Like pretty serious, trying to, for every question, do a reflection. What are the steps I need to take? Like exactly what you suggest me.
Yeah.
Like the tips that you gave me, and also I talked with Russell, right?
Yeah.
And basically he told me the same thing, like look for the states when they change. Probably that is the point where you have to memorize, like, for future solutions.
Got it.
That's what I've been trying to do. And also, but focus pretty hard on the instinct to get this instinct. And even though my schedule is being something like, I've been doing 2 dynamic programming questions and like 1 normal question, not dynamic programming with my friend. Like we've been doing mock interviews all the days from this week.
Okay, that's good.
And that's pretty much what I've been doing, like 30 seconds or at least, or even more, like 40 seconds. And I said, man, let me just reflect about this question to see which direction should I take. And that's pretty much it. And just one last point. He said that also Russell like recommended this for a few questions for me to try to not get out of the framework. And he also said for me to talk with you about this, but to try to be more relaxed in the sense of try to use my instincts to solve the question in terms of okay, here I need to test more and here not.
Yep.
And, so he said to me, like, to try to train this as well for
Yeah.
the actual interview that can save up time as
Yeah.
well. Other than that, I think that was pretty much it.
Good. Okay, so I'll make a few comments on that. First, training instinct is good, but that only comes in once you have the habits. And so I think I've given you like the whole like making sure you're testing on every single part. Like I gave you that framework about two weeks ago, right? And I want to make sure that that's a habit before we like start like promoting it to instinct. Like that should be second nature. You doing that. And then eventually, what will happen is like, hey, wait, like remember what I talked about before, like the dried chicken, where it feels like,
Yeah,
oh God, why am
for
I
sure.
testing this? I already know what's gonna fall out. That's instinct. And you want where Russell was that I know that he was basically telling me, oh yeah, I know what's gonna happen. I know this test. I know da 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 da, right? But I'm doing it anyway because I'm paranoid. That's the difference. Because he already knew what was gonna happen, and I said, okay, yeah, that's the right symptom. Now you want to be able to relax that. Where you're not anywhere, you're not near that anyway.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. Anyways, he told me this, but I didn't I didn't abandon the framework. So like this whole week, I was doing the actual like same framework from the past week of like doing a bunch of tests. And the only thing I was not doing so much in terms of like for the mock interviews was like the pseudocode. So I was trying to go straight to the code. And if I have some kind of thing that was not so clear that I didn't cover on the idea or I skipped this part, I tried to go back on the idea, fix that. Yeah, this happened actually 2 times. But what was better than like me trying to patch and pray. I was like reviewing the idea. Okay, yeah, just to get a clear sense of which direction should I go. But doing the actual code, not a pseudocode.
Okay, that's fine. I understand why you do that in an interview setting. I'm fine with that actually. But the point is that each step should be blindingly obvious. What you need to do next. You might not know what the answer is, but you know very clearly what the next step you need to take is. So let's see. Let's take a look at like some of the problems. So insert, delete, get random of single time, right? So this is your prediction. You think this is like the problem statement. So you have randomized set, insert, remove an item from set if present. Okay, and get random. We get a random element.
All of those that are not dynamic programming questions were from mock interviews. So basically.
Okay, that's fine. Random set. Wait, let's see. Okay, so an explanation, true. Okay, so each operation, insert 1, return true because it's there, false doesn't. Okay, got it. Should refine or remove this array. Are you not allowed to use a hash set or a hash map underneath?
Yeah. Basically, the main focus on this problem is or in the get random, depending on like the trade-off that you consider, or is in the get random or in the insert. Like basically, those are the main functions.
Wait, you're not allowed. Why don't you just use like a map? Wait, these are maps, right?
Where?
I'm randomized.
Those are kind of. I was trying to actually for this question, one comment. Like my friend said to me, was like in the beginning I was doing exactly what you said, like trying to solve the problem. But like at a moment, okay, I did solve the problem with this logic using 2 hash maps, but he said you could like have solved this question with only 1 hash map and the other list.
Yeah.
But I didn't like on the part of trying to get it more simple, optimizing like in simplicity, in terms of simplicity. Like I didn't get too much on it, so I left this question with 2 hash maps, which overcomplicated my.
Yes. I'm gonna tell you, I've seen this before. No code survives this. There's always gonna be bugs if you do like dual hash maps like this. It's just like I've seen this too many times. So that's like I'm like
Yeah. And after like this question, he said, "Okay, just like we are out of the time constraint. Let me think with you like how would you approach this removing one hash map? And it was kind of more obvious. So,
Yeah, my
Yeah, I
question is,
was
how
like-
did you get in this situation to begin with? Why did you propose 2?
because like the first thing I thought, I need one hash map to map indexes to values,
Okay.
right? But I also need to be able to get the values. So I was like the most obvious thing for me was to have another hash map to map values to indexes, so I can still have constant time access.
Oh, I
Like
see.
I can still, yeah.
You took the
And
operations
those-
at face value. I get it now.
Yeah,
Basically
that was basically.
what I'm saying. Yeah, basically what I'm saying is that I need an insert and I need a remove. So I need to keep track of the index, and then I need to be able to get an item. So I understand what happens. So basically, my thought when I do this is like not how do I solve each problem individually, or at least you should have like acknowledged, hey, wait a minute, this seems kind of weird. Why am I using so much data? Why am I using so many what's it called data structures to do this? That should have been the instinct kicking. It's like, hey, wait a minute, there's probably a better way to do it.
I acknowledge this,
Yeah.
but like, we were like, I guess, 23 minutes in, and he said, "Okay, we can start to code, and then we can think about optimization."
My question
I
then-
acknowledge, like, I even acknowledge on the better approach that the complexity of this code was using too much of data structures.
Yeah.
And that was complicating me a lot while implementing because the orders of the stuff. Yeah. Anyways, it very complicated, but I was able to acknowledge where was my like bad point in this question. Come up with a better approach, but after the time, like on the final discussion, like me and my friend as well, also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically my question first is, why did it take you 23 minutes to come up with a 2 hash set? That's my question.
Because I was trying to explain. And first, let me just look in the notes. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm very curious because to
exactly.
me it's very the worst case scenario. I would have come up with an index and then a keying function and then like a map, or even just a map on its own. But then, actually, yeah, and then I actually would have just put in a number as my key, and then value is the is the actual thing.
But if you want to, get, like, you mentioned to put like the index as your key and the value of the number as your value, right?
Yeah. So basically, what you end up with is like, if this is a map, then it's 0. Let's say 5, 1, 10, 3, 2, like 11, something like this, right? That's my that's like now that I work into the problem, this is what I'm thinking, and then you can insert, you insert 1, and then you have like some kind of counter, right? So counter of like.
Yeah.
Or maybe, yeah, you have some counter which is like the number of elements, and then you would always so right now it's going to be equal to 3, so then you insert 3 for like 19, and then you count it up to 4. That's would be what you do, and then when you remove one element and then shift all the other ones. Does that make sense?
But how can you get the random number based on this?
Random
How
number.
would you be able?
So you basically just convert this to a set. Actually, no, you already have the indexes, right? So then just do random. Just do rand modulus counter.
No, but for example, okay, imagine that you have 0, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But okay, I remove, let's say 11 here.
Okay,
right?
11, and then you got to adjust this index too.
Oh, so at every time, okay, you have to traverse through. Okay, this is your naive approach, right?
Yeah, this is probably what I would do for naive approach. It's pretty compact in terms of space. I think you can't get much faster than this. But basically, I come to this approach just let's say I started from your thing, right? I say, well, right now I need to know index to values and values to index, right?
Yeah.
And so this is like, let me copy paste it just so I can tell you where I'm thinking, and maybe this might shed some insight. So index to value, this is basically all I need, right? But then it's not very clear. It's like, okay, but I recognize I need to get rid of these. So why do I need value to index? The thing is that do I need to remove an element from the set, or am I removing something by position?
It's removing by the value. So.
Removed by value. I
example,
thought removed by index. Okay, I see. Okay, so maybe I am.
Yeah, it's removed by value. That was the need for me to use value.
I see what you're going with. Okay. So actually, my answer is like kind of it's not that complete, but this is probably like where I would have started off with the insert. And because I thought it was removed by index. But I mean like, okay. But then if after that, I would have tried. Okay, well now that I know that, I could probably just get this, get the keys as a set, or just the values as a set, and iterate and just find it. You know, it's not constant time, but then okay, I need to find out something faster. You're saying that every single element should be, all these operations should be constant time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I see. Actually, yeah. Then my answer doesn't actually work. Never mind. Forget what I just did. But basically, I just tried compressing everything down and try to make it more efficient. So I understand where you started off from, but my question then is like, okay, what would it take to get to the next step?
Acknowledge that having the list with the elements, right?
Yeah.
Will give me access to like the index. That was the thing I missed. So basically, that was the only point I didn't like invest too much time. Okay, so given the fact I have 2 hash maps, what can I do better? And even having a list, I cited this while solving. Like I told him, but I didn't get too much like in detail because I was trying to just first give a solution because he asked me a solution. And on the end, I said to him, man, I should like invest more time in that time where I was discussing optimization because it could just make my life easier. Yeah, I acknowledge exactly the point I missed to make this question more simple in my life while you're doing the code for this question. Simple.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't have thought that, what's it called, you get access to the index in Python. Then again, I'm not a Python programmer, that's up to you to know, so knowing your APIs is good. But yeah, my concern is that it took you 22 minutes at the beginning, and I think that's what caused everything. You took too long at the beginning, therefore you felt rushed to do the code, therefore you kind of didn't get to the point of thinking about the optimization. I think that's where the problem is that you just kind of put yourself under time pressure because you took too much time in the beginning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so let's see how we can fix that a little bit. So you made it very obvious. It's like I would say that you should have came up with this thing or this very naive solution like within like probably like 5 minutes, right?
5 minutes.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to come up with this?
Actually, I tried other solution before this one. I was reading into the notes here.
Okay, can you show me?
I tried like to. Hold up. It's on the practice diary, but I'll copy here.
I kind of don't see the notes. Practice diary.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me open it up.
Yeah, on the practice diary. Yeah. It's on the row 185. Yeah.
Okay, let me open it up.
Yeah, I just remember reading the comments that at one point before this index to value and value to index, I suggest a answer using kind of a flag instead of using 2 hash maps. And I get too much time maybe in this one. Yeah. Yeah, and he even pointed out as a bad point here.
Let's see. Okay, I'm like that's where my suspicion is. I'm like, why did you like take so long? This should explanation turn off.
Yeah, I was not remembering. Sorry about that, but anyways, it's like on bold here. Yeah.
I don't understand why you needed the flags to begin with, actually.
No, that was like where I was trying to go with the. I don't remember exactly because I removed from my explanation because I realized that it will lead me to nowhere. So I just abandoned this idea and removed from the walkthrough.
Got it.
You know.
I see. So you basically kind of went down some dead ends and just like kind of wasted time there for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Basically, I was trying out the idea without code, just drawing out.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that, okay, that's not an idea, and then I abandoned. Like,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, I kind of was like going away, but not getting stuck, and okay, let me go back. I have another kind of another hypothesis of where I can go and solve,
Yes, I understand.
Then,
And
yeah.
technically, if I gave you an infinite amount of time, that is the correct thing to do. The problem is that you don't have
What
an
you
infinite
said?
amount of time,
Can,
right?
can you repeat, please?
If I
Can
gave
you
you
repeat?
an infinite amount of time, that is basically the correct thing to do, step by step, right? But you don't
Yeah.
have an infinite amount of time. So,
Yeah.
in other words, we want to be. This is where instinct comes in. It allows you to make those like logical jumps very quickly. So when I look at this, I'm thinking, okay, randomized set. I need to be able to do inserts, removes, and get random items, right? And my limitation is that each of these functions works in average order or is constant time complexity. So
Yeah.
in that case, constant time literally means I'm only going to use hashes, and I'm probably going to use some kind of tracking that is incremental and get things at a predefined position. Those are my only two options, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I'm gonna have a hash set, I'm gonna have a hash of some kind, or like some index pointer
Yeah. Yeah.
that is gonna be like deterministic. That I jump by some kind of computed amount or whatever. That's basically my only two options.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and the easiest one, the most obvious one, is literally just the hash to me.
Just a hash. Yeah.
So
for sure.
that's
For me
literally
as well.
that should have taken you. That should have been the first 15 seconds.
Okay, I just remember. Like the first thing I suggest was to use a hash with index, like combine both.
Okay.
But then I overcomplicated this thing of using a list because I kind of put flags there. And I realized that, okay, if I combine a hash with a list, there's nowhere I can go because it's getting too complex. And I took a step back. Okay, let me just try to solve this problem, and then I can look for optimization.
Yep.
As you mentioned, not trying to be brilliant at the first time. So then I like suggest, okay, let me put another hash map instead of creating a list with flags, and then I will be gonna able to solve this problem and then optimize and try to see the correct way to use the index as well.
Okay.
I can get rid of one hash map.
Well, here's the thing.
That was exactly.
Here's the thing. Nothing. Where in this problem, now that I'm reading it, where does it talk about an index? It just says insert remove item, and the only thing you need to do is get random, right? So in other words,
Get random. That was the need for a list because, like, when I was, I'm trying to remember here what I was thinking. I was trying to, okay, get a random element from the list and then search this on the hash map. So that was basically kind of where I was going of the use of a list,
I see. Okay, and set doesn't give you access to like get item at position. I mean, I would say, now I understand where you're thinking. I understand now. You basically, what ended up happening was that you had a hash set and a list to try and keep track of a element or array, I was to say, to try and just have access to that random function.
Yeah.
Basically, and then you try and use like a rand position as your thing. Okay, got it. Yeah, I understand why you ended up in that position. And let me think. Is there a way to get better? From that position, like okay, so let's say you had that. Let's say you start off there, right? So insert hash set would cover your insert and remove, right? That's automatically given.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
The thing is that you don't actually have but you still don't have access to random. So you need to have. So in other words, we need to have access to some way of picking a element, and you decide to go force into a what's called the array, and then choose element at index x.
Exactly.
Yes. So that's where I would start questioning the link. Is like if that's the only reason I'm doing this, then there has to be a better way of doing it. So I need to have. What if I chose a data structure that acts like a hash and gives me access to an element at index? That's what I would be thinking.
And I was trying to think about a data structure that meets those constraints.
I mean, the other option would just be to do an array and then append a string. So then you could do you actually no, that still ends up being map of map actually. Fuck. But at least you don't have the index actually. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird actually.
Yeah.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, what you could do
Oh,
is, like,
well-
you can have a hash map and an array actually. Hold up, yeah.
Yeah.
They get a hash
Yeah.
map and then of like string and then number and then array of like string, or should I say number? And then you have like some mapping between number and string where it just would be like number plus key. I think that's what you would do.
Number plus key. Yeah, I was trying to use a tuple.
So no. So you have an array that basically keeps track of all the elements in the set. Or yeah, these are the elements in the set, and then to access it in the hash map, then you do this number, whatever you get, the number plus key as a key, and then get that.
But one question now,
Yeah.
and when you have to remove something from the array,
Oh yeah.
like it's gonna increase your time
Yeah,
complexity.
you're right. Actually, I don't know. So actually, I'm curious what the answer is because the answer's not obvious to me.
Basically, it was I was trying to go in the same direction. Let me just try to, I was because I didn't took note of like the perfect answer.
Okay, I'm very curious what the
I was-
perfect answer is.
Let me just try to, I don't know, can I just try to remember because
Sure.
it was kind of simple,
Go
I
ahead.
remember. So I remember that, for example, if I insert 2 and then 3 and then 4, okay, and then I know that 1 is in the index, actually the index 1 contains 2, no, actually, the 2 is in the index 1, I guess. Yeah, and then so on. So 3 is in the index, actually, 2 is in the index 0, and then 3 in the 1, and so on. And then, 4 in the 2. Okay, and then, for example, if I want to get random, so I want to get like some random element here. And then that actually, I actually don't remember exactly what I was trying to do with the map. On the moment was totally clear for me.
Ah, wait, okay, now I understand. So insert and remove value, basically, I see. So he basically made the value the key and then the index the value. So what he did here was, for insert and remove, you would literally just insert into this hash structure and then return that. And then for get random, you would try and get a random value based on the key, based on the index. I think it's kind of weird. I'm not explaining it clearly, but I think I have some understanding of what he's trying to do here. Oh no, he probably put the values in here or something like a list.
Yeah,
And then you
but
get list
I
and
also
element
acknowed the fact.
Yeah. So he used
increasing
the list actually.
complexity.
So this is a list, and then he does that list dot size modulus size let's say list dot size, and then he got that. He pulled it from here, and then he keyed it here. That's what. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that was where I was trying to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were on the right path with the list and the hash maps. All it was left is to figure out that you needed to reverse the key and the index. And honestly, that kind of stumped me too. So it's like it's fine. I understand why you're pretty close. It's just like one extra step that you needed to do. So.
But as I mentioned, like I should to invest more time. We were at like 23 minutes. If I spend like I guess 3 minutes, trying to think objectively and methodically, I was able, I guess, to derive the answer because I was trying like possibilities, But I haven't like considered this because I was trying to. He asked me okay, can you code that?
Yeah, to be honest though, it took me it was a little bit difficult for me to code it to figure this clever solution out as well. But hopefully it kind of gives you like some insight into what you need to do because it's like it's guaranteed that you need some kind of hash for here. And random, you're right. You do need you're guaranteed that. The question is how do you connect the two, and it's the keying. So
I had this instinct of use a hash from the first moment, but I was like trying. Okay, I try like to. Let me think about first a naive approach to don't just throw a magic bullet,
Uh-huh.
And then I kind of try to, okay, here's the naive approach. I was trying to get a naive approach, but then, okay, I was kind of, okay, let me go with this solution using a hash and a list. And then, I went to the other using 2 hashes
Okay.
and also a list.
Actually,
That was
wait.
totally
Yeah.
inefficient.
So actually, the logic would be I've insert and I've removed. This is a hash set. This must be a hash set, right? And then I have get random. This must be using that array list size function, whatever, and then element.get at, right? The question then is like, how do I combine? How do I synchronize the two? And so I must be able to do this in lookup time. So then, in order for me to look up an element in the array, I need to look this up in the hash set and synchronize that. So it needs to call remove on it as well. Although I don't think you need to index at that point. You actually don't need the index at all. Because all you need to do is actually... So all you need is a hash set. You don't need the hash map. The reason why is because...
Hash.
So the reason why is like you have this, so then you get remove... You got list.get... Let's say you call random, right? List.get, and let's say you pick 10. Or let's say 2. So then you get a list of 2. And then when it comes time to remove value, then you take the element at the list and... Oh, wait. No. You're right. You still need the index. You still need the index in order to synchronize this. Okay, yeah. So you do need the index in order to make it remove work. So the question is going down the list of, okay, I have a hash set. You start off with a hash set and then you start with a list, and then you do that. Okay, that's where it starts. That's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
get my logic
totally
where I
missed this
went with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I follow.
Okay, yeah, so I understand like why you ended up in the situation you did there. There's not much I would say that you can do about that other than just like, it's like, okay, well maybe instead of like trying to dedicate yourself to like hash maps and hash maps, you're on the right track. It's just you gave up on it because you basically, it's like, okay, well it works, right? But now you have to synchronize the two, so that's it. You have these two data structures now that work independently of one another. Now you have to synchronize the two across these functions.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where the block was. Just go a little bit more. Yeah.
Oh, one another thing to add here. Basically, all of the questions from the mock was from the top questions of Microsoft. So the tagged questions, on leaked code.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Anyways, just to mention here.
Okay, knapsack. Okay, so did this feel easy to you? Were you able to get it?
Yes, I figure out from the first time that I need to repeat elements. So I need to consider the same element over and over, So it was very clear because it was kind of, I remember the solution of but the logic of the coin change question that followed the same pattern,
Yeah.
And
that doesn't really change until you get to like, I want to say like some of the repeated words elements. Like later on, it kind of does break down a little bit, but it's still, the fundamental principle is still going to be the same. You might get a little bit confused later on down the road, but don't sweat it too much. But as long as you think about the state, you're fine. Okay. Hit counter.
Oh, actually, I haven't haven't on EPI because I'm following grokking. Grokking elements of it's grokking per dynamic programming.
That's fine.
It's a different grokking, but it's from the same authors.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I think it's fine. Right now I'm just more worried about as we get closer and closer to Microsoft. I'm more worried. I think it's okay to do leak coding because you've already done most of the API problems, and all that's left is for you to build this habit of what's called of approach. You should, in theory, already have the insights. Although, given that it was kind of hard for us to get started with the review, reviewing your own stuff and being meticulous about it, it might not be as sharp as I think it is. So, let's see. Let's just keep trying with these mock interviews and leak codes and see where we get.
Yeah, he said one thing my friend commented is that from the past, I'd say the past 6 mock interviews that we had, I was following kind of the same approach, I didn't change. So he said, you're explaining, the good points was I was able to explain the trade-offs pretty good, to go think very objective, but at 1 or 2 questions, I missed one detail, that you said to me in the past. And I acknowledge the detail. Oh man, I trained this I did this in a lot of questions, but like was like one detail, like but I don't. I just want to be perfect.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is where I'm talking about like recognizing those preconditions, recognizing what you did in the past, like and recognizing,
Yeah.
oh yeah, if I see this, I do this. That's what a pattern is.
Yeah. Yeah, one example for yesterday, like I was able to derive the naive and the optimal solution, but in the end, I didn't like said, okay, this optimal solution is better because da 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 da. No, I just okay, that's the optimal solution and that's it. I acknowledged the problems, the inefficiencies, but I didn't like state it. Okay, this is gonna be better because X, Y, and Z. And he pointed out, man, you should like acknowledge why your solution is now better. And anyways,
Yeah, I mean
Those
that's what the
just
trade-offs
the
are.
point.
You get benefits and like there's benefits and drawbacks, right? And it's
Yeah.
important to list both. You know, that's
Yeah.
it. It's the small simple things. And at this point, like if your friend is giving you praise, then you're pretty close. It's like just getting over that last hill with the instincts. It's like just making sure we clear those out.
And oh yeah, another abstract thing that we talk as well on Discord offline. Like I was trying to get much more control of like don't get nervous. Imagine that this is a conversation and I want to show you how I'll be able to solve because that was a point for me.
Okay.
When I get nervous, like for any reason, I start to do things nonsense, like that doesn't make sense
Yep.
and get out of what I've been practicing, what doesn't lead to anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if worst comes to worst, you can pretend I'm in the room, and say, well, I don't know if that would make you more nervous, but like, you can probably ask yourself, what would Edbert say here? Yeah? Maybe that maybe
Oh,
that
yeah.
might help.
One thing that I've been doing a lot is kind of doubting about even though I'm pretty sure that my instinct is correct, I'm going the right direction.
Uh-huh.
Ask to myself, okay, let me just double check here because I'm not sure and I need to be 100% sure, cover my ass, like from all the possible sides, just to make sure. Yeah, I've been doing like pretty obsessive. Yeah.
Well, this is where Russell started getting into like some trouble. But for you, I don't
Why?
think it's gonna be that bad because the reason why is because I'd rather at this point for you, I'd rather you kind of overtest a little bit. But for him, he was like really obsessively doing it to the point where like I said, it's like dried chicken to me, but then to him, it's like, oh my god, what if I miss something? And so this is like kind of like where you need to hopefully you find that balance where it's like, okay, I am reasonably certain based on like these principles that 90% I'm 90% certain that we are not gonna blow up. So if I like imagine like I'm in the room, like let's say you're doing an interview and I'm in the room, and you start doing a problem and that you come up with some kind of solution, right? Let's say you used that previous one, right?
Yeah.
Let's use this previous problem, the map one, and you start off with this like hash set and hash list. It's like okay,
Yeah.
and you would think okay, I know I've covered these two problems. So then what was the next thing you would say? You would say, oh well, this isn't quite complete. So the next
Yeah.
part of the conversation is, can you do is like okay, it's not quite complete. Is there a little bit more that you can do? What's really missing here? Like why is it not complete? Am I locked into something? Is it like something crazy going on that it's overcomplicated? And the answer would probably be no, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that bad. It's like it's just a hash set and a list. Now all I have to do is figure out how can I synchronize the two. Like okay, well
Yeah.
that shouldn't be too bad, right?
Yeah, let me just think a little bit more and try to derive a solution.
It's not so much a little bit more. It's like having that conversation with yourself, right? It's like, well,
Yeah.
what am I missing? What's going on here? Why do I need to jump ship? Well, it doesn't look that complicated.
One thing I've been doing a lot is like not doing a loop while solving. Kind of like acknowledge, okay, I tried this thing, didn't work because X, Y, and Z. I tried this other thing. Okay, I haven't explored this side. What can this help me? I was trying to, like ask those questions just to see if I go in a more like precise path, other than like if it's not so obvious to me. Yeah.
It's not like just asking yourself questions like random answers, right? It's really more about like having a logical progression in the conversation.
Yeah.
So the difference between what you just did and what I just did is that I just said, hey, what is preventing me from making further progress in this problem? Is like that's the difference. It's like you're saying I should have tried this. But the thing is that usually those kinds of insights are random, right? Like I noticed this pattern, I noticed this random pattern, And what I'm trying to do is give a logical progression through the problem, because that will help. That's more likely to get me to the answer than trying random observations and patterns that I see. That's the difference.
I see.
So in other words, it's like important to have that conversation with yourself. You know, like some people call me crazy for like talking to myself, but really it helps me think. So like again, like going back to this, I'm gonna repeat myself. Like, okay, I know I have a solution that works for one set of these problems and another set of the problems. So the insert, remove, and get random. So it looks a little bit complicated, but it's not too complicated yet. It's just two data structures. All I have left to do is synchronize between the two.
Yeah, that makes sense. And is it okay if I just go to the bathroom?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just
Go
1
ahead.
minute.
I'm gonna get a drink anyway. Let's see what y'all said in the chat. Did you know the Dota song by Bass Hunter? Yes, that's been a meme forever, bro. Like, I remember Bass Hunter played at, like, TI5. And that was pretty fucking cool. No, but he did not play Dota. And Darude.
Okay, back here.
Okay. Hey, what's up? Alright, cool. So, let's look at another problem. I kind of beat that one to death, but hopefully you understand, like, it's just a few, like, minor details, but it's also, like, being able to ask the right logical questions as well.
Yeah.
That's really where that's really what all this is. It's just like, okay, well, what's asking, not, oh yeah, do I need to keep going further, asking me what's blocking me, and is it reasonable for me to go down this path? Okay. So hit counter within the last 5 minutes, alright?
Yeah, that was a tough one as well.
Okay, your system should be accept a timestamp parameter. So that calls are being made in the system. You may assume that calls are being made in the system. Hit counter that initializes the object of the hit counter system. Void hit records a hit that happens at a timestamp. Returns a number of hits in the past 5 minutes.
Yeah, 300 seconds.
Okay, cool. So
and the
my
hits
question to you
are gonna come in like
yeah, go ahead.
seconds.
Go ahead. Explain to me how you do this problem.
Like, given the fact that the timestamps are gonna be like with the seconds, right? So, and the fact that they're just gonna increase, right? What I was thinking to do at first is like store like the numbers, let's say in an array. The first thing I thought, right? And for example, if you want me to get the hit on the function get hit for, what I'm gonna try to do is compare like all of the past elements. In that case, like all of the past elements to see if they are into the range of 300 seconds.
Okay.
And all of those that match this condition, I'm just going to, let me just remember what I should do. Yeah, I just need to increment a counter. So that was what I was thinking at first. You know, does that make sense to you?
Somewhat, yeah.
For you?
Basically, you're recording. You record the hits, and then you just kind of like take and you have a counter that independently gives you that number. All right.
Yeah, that was a naive approach. You know, the most naive approach here.
Okay.
And then kind of to optimize this, I could like create kind of a queue system in which like I'm just going to store the ones that are like in a delta of 300 on the first one. Let me just remember because I just don't remember like the optimal way to do this. I was basically just to record the elements that are in a delta of 300 seconds from the last. So
but it says you remember like several hits may happen at the same timestamp. So how do you record that?
No, I was just gonna like store the elements that are in the delta of 300. But I can have like a million of elements. That's still inefficient because. So I was maybe need to verify. No. Let me think here.
Yeah. Okay. I see what your problem is. Okay. Order space event. Better approach. Timestamp array.
No, several hits can happen in the same time.
Yes. Exactly. That's what I said.
But there's one thing. Let me just. Yeah. They're just going to increment. So in that sense, we're not gonna have repeated like elements. You know.
We
That
might,
was the
right?
thing.
Shouldn't you? If I record a hit at 3, then shouldn't I have shouldn't I be able to count that?
Same time means like exactly the same time.
Correct.
You're right.
I'm starting to see where you kind of flounder on these problems, but keep going.
Yeah, actually, going to my first naive approach that works, but it's gonna be too time. It's gonna take too much time, to verify all of the items that are valid for each get.
Okay.
But like for every time I insert an element, I was trying to manage all of the elements that have the delta of 300. Basically, that was it.
Oh.
So for example,
But the thing is that you're not guaranteed that it's always going to get hit at 300. It can get hit at 10.
no, but it's only incremental, like the hits as well, like the get hits.
What do you mean? You mean like it said in this example? You said get hit 4, get hit 300, get hit 301. Can I not go back and get through? Okay.
I cannot go back. Yeah.
Okay.
That was basically it.
Is that something he told you?
What?
Is that something that he told you that you can't, like, once you make a call to like hit 300, you can't make a call to get hit
It's
4 again?
It's on the problem description. So you may assume that the calls are being made to the system in chronological order. Timestamp is monotonically increasing. I assume this.
Got it. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
perfect. That's as long as it's explicitly stated in the problem, that's fine. Okay.
So I imagine this. So I get rid of like all of the hits that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that I'm not gonna get hits from the past, and I should manage this while inputting a hit,
Okay.
so I can have only valid hits. That was basically what I was thinking to a more optimized solution.
Yeah, basically, the number of elements in the list should only include all the elements within the past 5 minutes of the latest element. That's basically it,
Yeah.
right? So all the question now is like, how do you get there?
Okay. So as I mentioned, every time I'm going to insert an element, I was just going to go back into my list, like go into the start of my list, and calculate the delta between this last element I inserted and like those first elements, just to validate them. Okay, are they going to stay on the list or not, or are I going to remove it?
Good.
So yeah, I was just going to check the delta of 300 for those first elements.
Okay, good.
And that way I'll have.
Good.
That way I'm going to have like all of the. At all times, I'm going to have the past 300 seconds timestamps.
Fine.
Stored in that list. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I would have said just purge every single time I insert. I purge all the elements that are greater than my 5-minute timestamp range. That's the way I would have described it, just to shorten it up. But yeah, you have the right idea. Perfect. So I don't.
Can you just repeat this because it's much more simple than what I said?
I would say every single time I insert a hit, I will purge every single element that is outside my timestamp range.
Perfect. Yeah.
So it's like being succinct with that. It's not, again, what you did is right. What you did is right. Your answer is correct. And I think you progressing through that logic is fine. So this answer, this probably came out pretty good, I think. If this is like another interview that you did with your friend.
Yeah, all of those that are not dynamic programming are from the ones I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So give me one where your friend said you fucked up.
Let me go back in my notes.
Yeah. I'm curious.
It's better to, that was one point that you even asked to me. You know this detail of monotony, like inserted, like they're gonna be just incrementing. That was one detail I didn't catch. I
Yes.
read the problem 2 times, but I didn't acknowledge this as an important thing. And then I kind of went to a solution that I had to sort, but that doesn't make sense. And I made the same comment as you did. Like, okay, imagine if I get a hit of 2, one in the 300 and the other in 2. How I'll be able to manage this? I cannot get a better solution. And then the moment he said to me, okay, so read the problem description again. And I reread like a lot of attention, and I realized, oh, monotonically insert. So I just can't have like calls to a function like incrementing, even though if it's like inserting or getting an element. So I can just have a buffer of like 300 elements. Oh no, 300-second elements. So it can, yeah. That was when it clicked for the optimal solution. Yeah.
I see. Okay, so I think there's something I noticed here. What you try to do is you combine the step of understanding the problem and solving the problem.
First, I read the problem.
No,
I
no,
try
no,
to
no,
read
no.
as carefully as I can.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
then
Reading it,
solve.
I'm gonna tell you this: like reading about something and doing something are basically two different things. Like how everyone says, "Oh, I study," but it's like you can study tape of Michael Jordan shooting like a free throw, right? Or that, but it's a completely different thing to actually do it yourself. So what I'm saying here is that even though you read it, until you actually try around, play around with the problem, you don't actually quote unquote understand it. You can read it and memorize every single word on the page. That's fine. But it's like to really understand what exactly it's going on, you kind of need to play around with it.
I understood like looking at the examples, but I just forget this detail.
Yeah.
That was where I messed it up.
Yeah.
So following the framework we discussed later, I first make sure to read and understand the problem. If there's some detail I didn't catch, I look to the examples, or and do this back and forth, like to make the connection between the examples and the prompt. And then I try to play like with the examples. Okay, let me try to acknowledge some edge cases that they didn't consider and discuss with the interviewer, and then I start to like, so based on that, let me just see how can I go into form this array, string, or whatever. So basically that is the framework. That is the same we discussed,
I mean, it's like that one small detail does help, but I'm gonna tell you right now that even for me, I would like have missed that on the first pass. I would have just tried to play around with the problem and say, okay, trying to understand all the dimensions of the problem. Where can I go? Where can I not go? And then I would have tried an example or two, and then just make sure that, hey, wait a minute, something seems off. Why does this seem so complicated? That instinct would have triggered in my head, and then I would go back and read the problem. Is there something that I can cut out here? So you kind of saw that when we had that conversation, right?
Yeah. At the moment you realize that it's getting too complicated, let me just reread again.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yep, that's your instinct kicking. It's like, hey, wait a minute. I'm juggling too many things. I have too many concerns. I have too many edge cases. Like either my approach is wrong or I've missed something in the problem. So maybe let's see that.
He pointed out like you should like just 100% sure, and the things that are not 100% just ask me, because I just solved this problem before and I know how can I help you. Yep.
Correct. Yeah, like being able to talk out. That's where being able to talk out your thoughts. The interviewer can just jump in and says, "Hey, you missed this one thing. That's why you're kind of veering off." But you should be able to also have that even yourself.
Yeah, he even pointed out like attention to details. One tip that I gave you was the one that you could like figure out by yourself, a little further. And like, that was basically this.
Yeah, it's small things. Again, your approach is much better. It's just that small one or two things, and this is where your instinct comes in, right? And so it's like being able to trust that little voice in the back of your head. It's like, this seems a little bit too much, or this seems something's not right here. It's being able to have that, and then being able to correct course. Yeah. So again, it's like I'm not saying it's much better than previous weeks that we've seen. It's definitely much better. It's just like how can we get that instinct in there?
from my understanding, is on the way, but it's not the way it should be yet.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, you're gonna do more of these problems, and like I would say, even say, look at some some of the EPI solutions and just say, oh look, they did it so simply, or oh they would their approach is so clean. If my approach isn't as clean, then something might be off. If it's not obvious. So.
Do you recommend, like, one question about the few days that still left? What do you recommend, like, me to just do lit code questions or revisit like past questions and like think about how to make this, this approach more? Yeah, just analyze few problems and try to solve them and then look back on API. What do you recommend for this, I guess, 4 days we have had on the phone screen?
Yeah, we have 4 days to the phone screen. Good question. Let me think. I'm trying to figure out what the best balance is right now.
I'm just like, I'm not gonna go to classes, right? I didn't go this week.
Okay.
Because it's 100% this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 100%. This is the most important thing right now because you get the job.
Sure.
Fuck classes anyway. Fuck college.
Yeah. No. Even though if I didn't finish college, my visa is not gonna be approved. But anyways, it's a problem for Matheus of future.
Yeah. It's like we need to get the offer first before we can worry about that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's about catching yourself. That's the thing. It's like doing these problems and catching yourself when you're veering off too hard. So I think that doing actually more difficult problems would help. The reason why is because usually these difficult problems are just composite of the same problem. I would say actually, you know what? Hold up. What's your friend's availability?
Every day, literally every day, from 7 p.m. here, Brazil time, to like 9 p.m. It's usually the time we do those mock interviews. And then we do like 45 minutes, and then like we discuss for like half an hour about the problem, even like with better solutions. Yeah, that was basically what we've been doing during those days. And he said, man, I have the availability like until your last interview.
That's good. He's a good friend. Buy him some food after,
sure.
seriously, buy him like lunch and shit, whenever you can.
I bought his like married presents. Yeah. But anyways.
Yeah, when you get the fucking offer, like fucking treat him, man. Okay, so it's good that you have him, and it seems like he is very available. So let's do this.
Yeah.
What I want you to do is have it. Let me write this down actually. So I think we can leverage this actually. So keep so 3 things, right? Keep in one. What's it called? Keep in mind when you veer off or say the problem is getting wonky or complicated. Look at the problem statement again or reevaluate. 2. When your solution seems close and you want to, or should I say a solution seems close and you want to give up, make sure it's because it's very complicated and not because of a simple optimization. Remember we had the conversation of like, oh yeah, what's preventing me from combining these hash set and list is just I have to synchronize the two. But that doesn't seem very difficult because I know how to work with list. I know how to work with the hash set. It's just being that little push. It's like, hey, this doesn't seem that bad. When you start getting into like 2 maps and synchronizing that, it's like, I mean, it's kind of the same idea, but it's like you have this extra variable and you have a bunch of other shit floating around. So
yeah,
it's kind of like it's similar, but then to me like 2 maps is not as ideal as a set and a list.
Yeah, from the beginning I acknowledge this.
Yeah,
but I was trying to first solve the problem. Anyways, but I'll keep this in mind as well.
And so, yeah, and then the third one would probably be like your friend's instinct. What I want you to do is actually try to see how he would approach how would he approach the problem and question it. Like, hey, did you think, like, if you approached it this way, what were the pitfalls that you could come up with? Like, what are the mistakes you would have made? He solved it before, like, but like, or should I say, what are the mistakes you would have made or you have made in the past on this problem. So I think it's like it's important to learn the golden path, but it's also more important to learn from other people's mistakes. I want you to focus on these three things, and just take as much time from him as possible. Like try like 7 to 9. Just focus on these 3 things with him. Like focus on that instinct of like, hey, is it complicated? Is not, and ask the friend what his mistakes were and how he got around them. That's basically what I think is gonna go. I could do a mock interview here, but I think that you're already on a really good path. You know what? Let's do that. Actually, I'll give you a question. Actually, let's do that. I think it's worth doing. I can at least point out some other things that I'm seeing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's on the prep. Where are you?
Yeah, let's do it on your other problem sheet. Let me pull it up. Give me a sec. I'll link it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
M7 or
This one.
Oh, you're gonna send me, right?
Yep, send it.
What up?
Cool. Let me bring up a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that was nice.
All right, so let's go with timer again. Oh. Cool. Okay. And then that should do it. And then, yeah. So let me pull up a problem then. So what'd your friend think about the progress, by the way?
I think it's like a level that I've never been before.
What do you mean? Like,
Because
him or-
last year I was.
What
What you said?
What did your friend think? Like, what did he say?
Oh yeah, he said like the way I progressed during this past 8 weeks, right? It's like the way I never progressed before because I am acknowledging things that I never consider, I just skipped. And I was being much more methodical and not like so random thoughts just throwing the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, so at
And
least you know.
I even told him like I am being coached by you, and he said, "Yeah, I think it's like the greatest thing you've done because even though I'm like he is a good engineer, but he's like start of the career, and he didn't know like he didn't have this nuance that you have like okay, work on this 3 points, because and he said, yeah, Edward, he's an expert on this.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I have pretty good results, I would say. Okay, so let's see.
for sure.
All right. Not this one. This one's a little bit easy for you. I want to give you something that's like gonna test you. Actually, you know what? I've never given you a hard problem, have I? I've only given you like the easy, medium ones. Yeah, let me give you a hard problem. This will be fun.
Oh man.
No, I think you can do this. I think you can do this. It's actually gonna. Now that I think about it, yeah, this is a really good problem. I'm just gonna test you exactly how I want to test you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. So don't worry about if you get this or don't get this. I'll be very impressed if you get it. But our goal here is to show holes in your thinking. So let's go. Let's get started. Where is the timer? Nope. Damn it. Start, you little bastard. I don't want to edit. I want to fucking start it. God damn it. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right.
Hold up. I'm just gonna start my timer as well.
Okay. Ready?
In 3, 2, 1. Yeah,
Go.
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. So we have a bill splitting problem. You're given an array of transactions where you have a transaction amount, a transaction from person to person, and for a particular amount. And so what I want you to do is return the minimum number of transactions required to settle the debt. So let's go to the first example, right? Say a person 0, 1, 10, and then 2, 0, 5, right? What this means is that person 0 gave person 1 $10, person 2 gave person 0 $5. So the minimum number of transactions required to settle this debt is 2 because, well, person 1 just needs to pay back person 0 or to say, the one way you can actually do it is person 1 pays back person 0 and person 2 pays person 0 $5, right? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Person 1, or I should say
zero.
person 1 pays back person 0 $5 each.
Okay, it's just to check the debt, right? Two transactions are needed. One to settle the debt, and the person 1 pays the person 0.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I just need to like check the debts and like check the number of transactions I need to do to balance, make them of debt. Right?
Sorry, what are you saying? Hold on, let me take notes.
Like I need let me just okay, so here are the input's gonna be the transactions. Okay. And for example, the person 0 gave person 1 $10. Okay, it's like a graph. Okay. So, okay, $10, and the person 1 give person 0 $1. That makes sense, and the person 1 give person 2 $5. All right. So the transactions that happen between them. So the first one being the source and the target, like for the person that is going, and the third, the transaction, the value of it. Okay, and what the question asks is like, you're given an array of transactions, all right? Return the minimum number of transactions required to settle the debt. Okay. That makes sense for me. Two transactions need one reaches. Okay, so therefore person 1 only needs to give person 4. I'm just trying to understand fully the problem.
Good.
Anyways, person 1 needs to give person 0, so 0, 1, 2. Okay, so imagine that. Let me just put it in another way here, just to visualize. We have person 1 here. There we go. Okay.
What?
Person 1. Then it had $10. Yeah, now I have $10, and then for the second transaction, there is no more transaction to it. Then person 1 gave $1, so like to 0, and then that's okay. Now that's gonna be the 0 on the second one, and then just let me. Oh yeah. Anyways,
Take your time.
I'm just going to, because it's. Let me just try to change this to simple. Just to this space is. Anyways. Okay. And now one give to 0, 1, and then one give to 2, and then there's a third person here that now is with 5. All right? And then, yeah, person 2 gives back 5. Now person 0 is with 6, and person 2 is like with 0. I'm assuming that all of the persons like start, yes, the only value that I have is 10 here, like start from person 0, and then the transactions happen.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
person 0 gave person 1 $10, right? I'm not sure where this 6 comes from.
Oh, because
Oh.
it all starts with person 0 having $10,
Okay.
right? And then person 2 and 1 and 2 have $0.
Okay.
Then 0 give to 1 $10. So now the value is going to be transferred. And this is going to be 0.
Sure.
And then 1 give to 0 1. So actually this is going to be 9 now, and this is going to be 1.
Okay.
And then 1 give to 2 $5. So this is going to be 5, and this is going to be 4.
Okay.
Right. And then 2 give to 0 $5.
Okay.
Now it turns to be 6, and this turns to be 0.
Perfect. Good. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, those are the transaction and what actually happened. Now, like going to the goal of the problem, that is, yeah. I just did the transactions thing. Okay, it's, and now I just need to think about the minimum to settle the debt. But okay, I just need to, I just acknowledge the transactions. I just need to acknowledge the debts that the persons have now. So on the first transaction, person 0 given to 1, 10, like debt of 5 of 1 to 0 is 10. Okay, is minus 10. And then like 1 give 0 1. Oh, it decreased the debt. All right.
Okay.
And then 1 give to 2 5. Now person 2 is in the debt of, so 2 for person 1 is in the debt of minus 5. Yeah, that's correct. And now like person 1 and 2 and 2 and 5. 2 give to 5. No, 2 give to 0 5. Okay. Now 0 is in the debt with 2 minus 5. Okay, so now I have the amounts. Okay, and like where the debts are. That's pretty clear to me.
Okay.
So therefore person only needs to give person 0 4. No. I'm just not getting the point why person 1 only needs to give person 0 4, because like the first operation 0 gave to 1 10, and then the second operation 1 gave to 0 1, you know.
Yeah.
Therefore nothing happened more between 1 and 0, just between 2 and 0. I'm just not getting this
Okay,
point,
but you notice like at the very you resolved all these transactions, right? So then person 0 has $6 and person 1 has $4, right? At the end of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you said at the very
yeah.
beginning that person 0 started off with $10. Do you remember that?
No, because like 0 gave to 1 $10.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you remember but you also said very explicitly that this only works if person 0 starts off with $10.
Oh yeah, that I remember, yeah.
So does it make sense that in order for us to get back to the beginning state, that you take away $4 from person 1 and you give it to person 0? That way person 0 has his $10 back.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just repeating to you what you just said. So okay. So hopefully this helps resolve the issue.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now, okay. Yeah, I understand this. It's pretty clear to me. But now I'm just not understanding one point here.
Okay.
Like if 1 gave back 4 to person 0, okay, it's gonna be with the 10 here.
Yes.
And but still, like, one, it's gonna be in debt of minus -5 with
Why?
person 0.
Person 1 has the $4 right
Because-
now. So you don't have to give back $10. You only have to give back $4.
You only have to give back.
Yeah, person 1 has $4, right? How much money do I?
Yes.
And so he has $4, right? So if I give back $4, I'm back to where I started, where I have $0.
Yeah, but you like one gave to two 5, you know,
Okay.
and doesn't matter. You didn't pay like 0. You still need to. You just like one just gave 5 to 2, right? And didn't get the money for 0, but it's still on debt.
Okay. Well, does it matter who he gets it from? Imagine this scenario. It's like if I gave, let's say I gave a person like a Paul, who's a random fucking guy. No, actually, let's do this. And let's say I loan Russell $5, right? Russell then loans you $5, right?
Yes.
So the best way to just do it is just for you to give me back the $5, then everyone's settled.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the exact same
I thought
principle
that-
here.
I thought that the 2 and 0, like the 1 and the 2 and 0 didn't knew each other. Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of thinking of person 0, 1, 2, think of it like as a person with a name.
Yeah. So yeah. No, that makes sense.
Okay.
So Rick in Abby. Okay. So yeah, Rick gave. Okay, that makes sense now. Just let me correct this debt, because I need to fully understand this before do anything. Okay. Bring back. Person 0 gave person 1 $10. That's correct. That's 0. Okay. And now, like, Rick gave Abby, like, $1. All right.
Okay.
Now that's 9. And then, like,
Wait. Who's 0, 1, and 2 in this situation?
Zero. No, yeah. 1 give to 2. 1 give to 0, actually. Yeah.
Okay, 1 gave to 0, $1.
Yeah. So, yeah, $1. There we go. And now the debt is like -9.
Okay.
All right. Between 1 and 0.
Okay.
Okay. Now person 1 gave to 0 $5. There we go. $5 here.
Uh-huh.
And this is 4. Oh, yeah, this is 5.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, now that it's like -5. Okay. And person 2 gave back to person 0 $5. Okay, now person 0 is with 6. And yeah, that's like 4. Oh, yeah, that's like 5. And that's like 0. Okay. And this changed as well because Abby pays Paul like the debt of Rick, and this is gonna decrease to, like, as you mentioned, like.
I think you're still confused. So you know what? It's been 15 minutes. Let me give you a. Let me walk it through. Let me walk the example through you, okay? And maybe it'll make a little bit more sense because I still think you're confused. So let's say Paul is 0, Rick is 1, Abby is 2. Let's say, for instance, they start off with a balance of 0.
Yes.
So for instance, person 0 gives person 1 $10. Paul gives Rick $10, right? So Rick, in the circle of friends, Rick now has plus $10 in his bank account, right? And let's say Paul like goes to the bank and he's now in debt $10 in order to give Rick the $10, right?
Yes.
So then now, Abby, so then person 1 gives person 0 $1. It's like, okay, Rick's saying, okay, well, I'll give you back $1. You know, so now this is like 9, and this is minus 9. So Paul's still like in debt and $9. So person 1 gives person 2 $5, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's $5 here, 4 here, and then person 2 gives person 0 $5, right? So now we're back to minus 4 here and 0.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Totally.
Okay.
Now Rick just need to give Paul back like $4, and all set.
And where you're getting hung up is on this detail right here. That's really a non-detail. In fact, that's the whole detail we're trying to bypass. It doesn't matter if like you have to unwind all these transactions if you can just sell the entire thing right here. Remember what I said before? Like, if I give Russell $5, Russell gives you $5. Then instead of you giving back Russell the $5 and then Russell giving me back the $5, you could just give me the $5. And then that would just resolve the transaction.
Yeah.
So that's the exact same principle here. We're just trying to settle it in the minimum number of transactions. We're not trying to be, like, oh, I'm going to pay back this exact person.
Yeah, I put like fear of complexity there.
Yeah, you hung up on the wrong detail. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So anyways, yeah, for this, there's only one transaction here. Yeah, one transaction. Between Paul and Rick. There we go. Okay. Now let me just see if there's like any edge case here I may encounter. Okay, let me just take the input. All right. Yeah, actually, we can have an example with like no transactions. All right. So my hypothesis for tests is like we can have no transaction. Have no transaction. The other case is that. Let me just check what else can happen. Or doesn't matter if I have the same person given to the other person the same thing. So that's not going to be a valuable test. And yeah. Right, and the other thing that can happen is like we have no debt.
Sure.
Right, all set between the persons. So yeah, for this case, there's like 0. The output for this is going to be 0 because there's no operations happening. And in the case there is no transactions, no operations are going to happen, right? By default, and this is going to be 0 as well. So yeah, I'm just wondering if there's anything else here. I think like that are like the edge cases we may encounter. Okay. Now let me think about. Let me walk through like. Okay, given the fact that we have, if we do all of the transactions, kind of, if we initialize like all of the 3 persons, 0, 1, and 2, and like the numbers, right? And we start to do the transactions. We're gonna fall into the scenario where we're gonna have like the balances of them, and yeah. I was just thinking about one thing, just to make this a little bit. So imagine, yeah, this is -5, and yeah, that's 1 because Rick gave Abby $1. Okay, the actions to balance this is actually 2 because Abby needs to give back Rick $1.
Sure.
And then Rick needs to give back Paul the $4. All right, 2 operations. There we go. The question is, how am I need to keep track of like, okay, actually on my input, the transactions are gonna be labeled from the source to the target. So I know what the transactions happen. I'm just, because like the way that those transactions happen, the way I will like give back the money, because that's the only way I know that Rick needs to give, actually Abby needs to give Rick money. So let me just try it out something here. Okay, so giving this example here, I'll check. All right, so imagine, just for sake of clarity, yeah. All right. Okay, if I go back here. And then, yeah, there's like a third operation.
Okay.
Let me just go back to the original example here. And make our life easier. Okay. So basically, like if I iterate through these elements here, I know exactly the path that the operations are having, and I know how I would backtrack the operations. I'm just thinking about, trying to think about the clear possibility without throwing
Sure.
random shit here.
What's the most obvious answer here? Or the simplest, whichever one you want to think about it.
Yes, just normalize all of the 0, 1, and 2 to be 0, and I will check like that one transaction need to happen, like, because like 4 is the same as 1, but yeah, that's not gonna work.
Okay.
That's 3. Okay. Yeah, for this, I need one transaction to happen. So Abby needs to be with 0. Then Rick needs to, yeah, give back. Yeah, but 2 things can happen here. Like Abby needs to give back Rick this money. It's one operation. Rick needs to give back to Paul. It's another operation. The most obvious thing for me is to see how many
Hello?
many of the inputs, yeah, I can hear you. How many of the inputs I need to normalize to 0?
Okay.
But yeah, that doesn't make sense. Okay, let me just try another thing here. Okay. Like Rick. One operation would happen between Rick and Paul. Like if there are only 2. And now, like, let me just test one more thing here. One, have one that Abby gave to him. Okay, now Rick needs to give back to Paul. Abby needs to give back to Rick, and one needs to give back to Abby. So like 4 operations are gonna happen here. I'm just not getting this point.
Okay.
Of like,
We can stop. We can stop here if you can't see it.
can you give me just 2 more minutes?
Yeah, sure. We're at 26 minutes anyway, so.
Yeah, I see. 26 minutes. Yeah, let me just do a step back. Forget about numbers and think about the names. Okay. Now, same thing. Yeah. Okay. Then, yeah, as I mentioned, all of them start with 0. Forget about this guy. Okay. Then Paul give to Rick $10. Now Rick is with 10, then minus 10 here. And then Rick give to Paul $1. Then that's 9. That's 9 as well. We will give to Abby 5. 5 here. And then that's like 4. Give to Paul 5. Abby give to Paul 5. So that's 4, and that's 0. Okay. Now only one operation needs to happen. That is like, yeah. I'm just, let me, going back to the same thing. Yeah, I think like the most naive approach here is just check through the like possible elements. I'm imagining that I'm gonna count this just like a graph, like the different elements that are the elements, the names, all right? And just need to see how many operations needs to happen between them to equalize them to 0. So no one is without debt. That was basically the direction I wanted.
Okay.
I was trying to go. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So why don't you try to see what that's like? Yeah. Because there's many different ways of doing that. So I'm curious which one you pick.
Yeah. So create the. Yeah. We check all of the elements that have debt, and like check all of the elements and set their balances. Like by balances, I mean the number that they have on the account. And later, like traverse through all the elements, like in this case, like persons. And check how many of them needs to set to 0. Okay. Yeah, basically, the first thing I was thinking here is maybe do a graph. All right, so I'm just gonna create a graph. So I'm just gonna try to implement since. So yeah, that problem.
Okay.
which we're gonna receive the transactions. Okay. And yeah, the first thing is create this graph. No, it doesn't need to create the graph. It actually is like yeah.
Okay.
I can create.
Actually, we're kind of. It's at 30 minutes. I'm tempted to give you more time, but I mean, there's plenty to talk about. What do you think? You think you're on a roll? Or you think you're gonna give, you can solve this problem, or you think you're gonna give up?
Can I try just for more 5 minutes? I don't know
Yeah, sure.
if
I'll
it's
give you another
valuable.
5. I'll give you another 5.
Yeah. So for transactions, and so I'm gonna traverse through all of the transactions, trying to basically create array, not array, yeah. So I can have this thing happening here, like a list with, or I think it's gonna be better, like a list, just to map the element, like the person, with the balance. I cannot. Yeah. I just go persons. It's going to be something like this. And then, actually, yeah, transaction 0. Okay, so yeah, person on the transaction 0 going to the, it's gonna map to increment. Yeah, actually, that is a very, okay, so I need to insert the new person, and then I need to do 2 operations, to subtract from the source and add on the target person. So yeah, first I need to add the person, that's correct, and it will start with 0. Oh, yes, okay.
I'm gonna cut it off here. Just for the sake of time. But I encourage you to try this problem. Actually, you know what? We don't have enough time to try the problem. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I saw, and I think I'm going to give you 2 or 3 hints. So the first thing I noticed was that you spent an inordinate amount of time, a pretty big amount of time just doing the problem. And I think it just you were really just hung up on this one detail of trying to pay back the specific person. Remember how you tried recording? Oh yeah, person 1 gave person 2, person 2 gave person 3. So then now you have to reverse all those transactions. So you had this little ledger thing going on, right?
Yes.
But then I had to keep reminding you, it doesn't matter if, person 1 gave person 2 gave person 3, as long as person 3 gives back to person 1, right? It doesn't matter. You don't have to give back that exact person. You just have to settle the debt. And I think that you just kept focusing on that, and then it took me a while to shake you out of it. I think that's really what contributed the most to the time. It basically took, I think what took you, it took you 25 minutes to understand the problem, when it really should have
20
been
minutes.
12. Yeah.
It was 20 minutes get stuck on this part of this extra detail.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes, yeah, to make sure that I understood.
Yeah. Basically I kept telling you, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do this. It doesn't matter. And so that's kind of where I'm kind of stuck as well. I'm trying to figure out okay, how can I get you to not focus in on that. Like, even though I told you that, even though I gave you like the heuristic, just think of it in terms of per people instead of like numbers or like and that. It's like you still kind of got hung up on it. So I think it's like a little bit of like there's a little bit of a human fallacy where the more time we spend on something, the more we're convinced it's right, rather than just like letting it go. And I think you kind of fell into that fallacy.
The more time I spend in something, the more I know where to go, right?
It's like let's say I have an idea, right? I'm spending days researching it, but I'm more likely to cling on to the idea because I am researching it for a very long time, rather than just saying it in the first few hours, like, hey, this is not obvious to me. It's not. I don't know where it is. You know, you ever? It's a human fallacy, and it's pretty common. So what I think what happened with you is that you had the idea, and then you doubled down on it, basically because you kept recording it, and because you felt like you had to record it, you basically got too attached to it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's basically like this. It's like being able. It's a more of a mental switch thing. It's like when I tell you, "Hey, this doesn't matter," you need to be. You need to just say, "Okay, let me." It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like the interviewer's trying to help you here. Just take the help, man. I think that's kind of what I saw here.
Just to remember, like you said to me this on the beginning, right?
Uh-huh.
Like that doesn't matter, like this thing.
Yeah, this
Just
zero
so I
to like it doesn't matter who you pay back. What matters is that the debt is settled. So I gave you the whole example of you, me, and Russell like loaning each other $5. It's like if you think of it from each person's perspective, if I loan Russell $5, Russell loans you $5. I don't care if Russell gives me back the $5. I just need my $5 back.
No, you're right.
And you don't care who you give the money exactly back to. All you know is that you have an extra $5. So it's like I guess like in a way you can kind of paint this as, if it helps. Another helpful heuristic is to paint it like a story. I think that could also be another way to think about these problems that might help. But to me, like it's just a story of people loaning each other money. And so once I have that, then I'm like, okay, well, now I can model this as a ledger. Well, someone owes someone, and it doesn't matter who. It's just I know I owe someone some money. So then the next part and the most naive solution now is like, okay, now I know some people owe money, some people are owed money. So what I'm going to do is just try every single possible combination of giving out the money from people who owe money to the people who are owed money. That's pretty much the answer, by the way. Although you don't need a graph to do that. You can just literally just do it off an array with backtracking.
But like, just you're gonna traverse through this input, right, and try all the combinations.
Yep.
That.
So let's say I come back with this ledger of, let's take a hypothetical ledger. It doesn't matter. Let's say I have a person 0 who owes $5, who has like five extra dollars. One person has $10 extra. 2 is owed minus, let's say, $8, and then 3 owed minus 7, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try everything possible combination. So let's say I just take all his money, give it to person 2, and then try every single variation of that, and then try every single person, and then give it to person 3, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, now this guy's 0. And then now I'm going to try distributing, 10 here. So I'm going to give this guy plus $8, and then give this guy plus $3, right? And you see how this just becomes a permutation problem.
Yeah, it ends up boils down in a permutation.
Yeah. So that's the answer. So I think the issue with you is a little bit of the problem comprehension and modeling it on the approach. It's a little bit more of a human. This is like what I'm talking about with instinct. Your mechanics are fine. Like if I am very confident if I gave you a million years to this problem, you would get it. But like I said before, you don't have a million years. So it's like understanding the instinct and heuristics. So in this case, what tripped you up was like being married to your idea. And just because you spent so much time on it.
I literally spent 20 minutes.
Yeah, you would have gotten back. You would have gotten back at least 10 minutes if you literally just didn't do this. And you just understood this is a story of people paying each other back.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna be one thing to help you. If you get hung up on a detail, especially if it's a wrong detail, it can be very, very bad for you. So let me write that down. So
Just, but one thing I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? For this first question we discussed, like
Yes.
the one to link the array with the hash map.
Yes.
I just gave up of my idea because I thought this can, I would not marry my idea because
Yes.
that can like kill me.
Yes.
And I just abandoned and okay, let's solve the problem, you know, because I just have a very clear understanding of
Yep.
what I could use. And in this, okay, in this problem, I should also like have considered this thing of, okay, maybe if I don't consider the specific person that loans each other money and like think about like debt account, you know,
I
type of
see.
thing. That,
So let me tell. Here's the difference in these two situations. The first situation, what was blocking you was you didn't ask yourself, okay, what is block? You just have to ask yourself what's blocking me. Why can I not make progress with this one? The first one is I can't make progress because I need to be able to synchronize these two lists. Well, is it easy for me to do that? Because if I can manage synchronization, I will get to the answer. That's the first situation. That's what the get random whatever. In the second situation, it's okay to like latch onto the idea. It's like, okay, well maybe I need to rewind it. But when the interviewer literally tells you you don't need to worry about that, all that matters is that the person is paid. It doesn't matter who pays it. I have literally just given it to you that you don't need this piece of information. That's it.
you told me just if I'm wrong, correct me please.
Yeah.
Like you told me this on the like when I was on the 20 minutes in the question, right?
Yes.
So okay. Okay, so I should have like be able to figure out in the next 10 minutes.
I would say so, yeah. Save yourself some 10 minutes. I think it's okay to like get a little bit hung up on like, wait, do I know this or you know? And then eventually I will probably tell you, hey, you're probably going down the wrong path. You know, that's the point of the interviewer, right? Like I'm going to tell you like if you're going down the right path, wrong path, whatever. But it's like once I've told it to you, you need to be able to quickly pivot. So and let me look at my notes here. Problem didn't make sense. Give them names. Simplify. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I think I told you somewhere between at 12 minutes I told it to you. I think
12 minutes is that I remember.
probably
If
like
you
12
told
to
me-
18 minutes somewhere around there. I think I told you about you don't have to pay back the specific person. I gave you the Russell and me example. Yeah. So
Yeah, but doesn't matter. I should have be able to figure out in the next like let's say the worst case 10 minutes. A naive approach.
Yes.
Like okay, maybe try out all the combinations and yeah.
it's a matter of understanding what's blocking you. Again, the first situation was blocking you is that you it's like again it was just like oh this is a very simple optimization step that will get me to the right answer and it's just like saying and what's standing between where I'm currently at and the problem, right? In the first situation, it was very obvious, like at least to me, that all I had to do was synchronize the list and the array. I already have part of a solution right there. It's very obvious that that one solves some of these functions. This list solves another part of this function. All I have to do is just glue the two together somehow. That's a very obvious road, right?
That was clear.
Yeah. The second one is like it's not very clear how this ledger works. It's like even if you rewind the ledger and just say and you undo every single step, well, that's not necessarily the most quickest way to settle the debts, right? Like even in the first example, I gave you like example of like two transactions, and in this case, in the second example, I gave you one transaction, right? Even though there's like four transactions, it only takes one transaction to do it with, right? To solve the problem. So rewinding this transaction is not and undoing every single step is not obvious. This is what I mean by instinct. It's like, hey, is this obvious to me, or is there like one step that I need to take in order to get there? This is where instinct kicks in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I know I'm being a little bit abstract here, but it's all about recognizing what is obvious, what is standing between me and the solution. And it's being a little bit rational about that checklist. To me, it's like, I'll admit, my instincts are not as good as like most other people, partially because I haven't been interviewing in a long time, partly because I recycle the same questions. But I guarantee you, I still have like pretty decent instincts, only because I have like a checklist in my mind, right? Yeah, it's about you recognizing like what is blocking you and like having that checklist as well. In this case, I've kind of given you a few. Like if asking yourself what's standing between yourself and the problem, and like just trying to simplify things and make things a story. So these are all going to be helpful things, but like at the end of the day, it's like being able to act on it is a whole nother thing, and that's the part where I can just kind of say, hey, this is the part, this is like one mistake you're making because of this is one mistake you're making because of this, and it's up to you to like synthesize and organize that in your own head and act on it.
We're not more talking about like the framework itself, right? And the mechanics. We're talking about like something that is much more abstracted. But
Yes.
yeah, it's workable. I can work on that.
Yeah, this is the part where it's like I can't give you a formula. It's like the framework. I can give you like a formula, but it's like very, very meticulous. And of course, I usually don't do that for people because like sometimes you will eventually get it, and they will quote unquote get it because they have worked professionally. But with you haven't really worked that like in a professional environment like that. So I think that's part of why it took me so long to realize that you needed that framework. And that's like basically a formula, right? It's like just do this, then this, then this, then check, 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 right? But for things that are like problem solving and more human in nature, it's understanding your own psychology and what tendencies you have and fixing those mistakes. And I can point them out to you, but I can't give you like a checklist of your own of these heuristics. I can only point them out as I see them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. So it's going to be up to your like. Again, I can't really tell you what to do. I can only tell you like what I see, and then.
No, you already like pointed out the 4 points, you know.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like it's beyond my control, so I'm not really like gonna harp on you for it because again, it's like I said, out of my control. But if there's something that we've talked about that I said explicitly that you can do and you're not doing it, that's one thing. But this one is more like I can give you like some fast rules here, and then you point out like the contradiction with some other rules that I've mentioned in the past. But it's like at that point, it's like, yeah, it's abstract. It's like heuristics that aren't 100% guaranteed to work all the time, but they're going to work most of the time. And, this is like kind of where we're getting some murky territory. But overall, like if you're in this situation, we're pretty close. Like I said, we're very close. It's just being able to resolve that instinctually. So
the thing is, like man, I've been doing exactly what we're talking about, you know? Like following the checklist, and even though I feel that okay, if I can relax at this point, no, let's just chew the chicken, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that it's more natural to me is go straight to the code, then go to the then the pseudocode. But in like a lot of situations, I can recognize, this instinct, and I can feel the instinct. But there are like few, as you mentioned, like few points that I still miss, because I don't know, like I don't have this instinct yet.
Yeah.
And like,
it's difficult. That's what I mean. It's the last hurdle that we have to climb. And I maybe ask Russell again how he got the instinct or not. I think for you, it's okay to err a little bit more on the side of caution. I'd rather you do that because I can tell that there's some details you skipped. Sometimes you do want to jump to the code. But really, you need to prove to yourself that, hey, if I jump to the code and I will not blow myself up, that I'm reasonably confident in my reasoning of this problem and how I've solved it, and I can prove that it is a good solution. When you do that, that should be you should have that instinctually. Like how I saw like oh yeah, this looks a little bit complicated. This doesn't look quite right, because it's a little bit too complex for what the problem should be. Other times it's like okay, well let me prove this by cases that this solution works. It's basically like saying, like, remember how we kept talking about, like, am I going to blow up? Like, or how to prevent myself from blowing up? It's like understanding these little signs in the problem or what you're doing that's saying, hey, yeah, this is probably going to blow me up because I've seen this before and this has caused me a lot of issues in the past. So that's kind of like where we're at in recognizing those situations. And over the next 4 days, I think it's going to be very helpful to learn like what mistakes the guy that who is doing the mock interviews with you is prone to, and try to ask him how he resolved them.
Also, like I'm gonna go back to my like all the highlights mistakes, you know, like to see what makes sense to invest, because as you mentioned, just to get like you said that that's kind of the only thing, right?
Avoiding
Yeah.
mistakes and coming up with like some rules and some instincts that will help you avoid those mistakes.
Basically, the most abstract part, but is the last one.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the last one. This is the last hurdle. You come up with that, like even a remotely decent checklist, you'll do very well in these interviews. So, it's
Okay.
4 days to make that happen. I have never had anyone do it in 4 days. It usually takes like 2 weeks, but and this is like if they're studying hardcore. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, like study hardcore as well here.
Yeah. So,
But I think like just one thing, your past clients are like more senior than me. Like,
That's true.
as you mentioned, like maybe I don't have this past experience.
Uh-huh.
Like yeah.
like
But
I said, this
anyways,
is the first time.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah, this is my first time working with like a what's it called, a new grad on a long-term basis. So this is as experimental for you as it is for me. But I'm giving you like what I think is gonna work. So let's see where this goes. Hopefully we get somewhere. Hopefully we land the Microsoft interview.
Yeah, can I just comment just one more
Yeah.
point just to hear your opinion about this?
Yeah.
It's not that I'm gonna relax in those 4 days. No.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, I'm gonna as I can like.
Yeah.
Anyways, I have contact with this friend of mine that I've been doing those mock interviews, and I contact like women that work at Microsoft from my college in Boston. Like just asking about the interview, just to understand the nature of this first interview, and other women that I know from my college as well. And she's from Seattle. Okay. What I get out of like between the difference like from Facebook and Amazon and Microsoft is that Microsoft, and even though the resources they send me, right, for me to study, there's like a video I watched. They want to see like if your problem solving is on the point and you have a ground foundation of data structures. All right. And they even stated like, as I mentioned, I'm just throwing like thoughts here just to hear your opinion. Like if you're not able to finish, and if you have a clear understanding of you want to get where you want to get, it's basically sometimes it's better than I don't get enough signals from you during the interview.
Sure.
I don't know. I see this like repeating like from those three persons I talked that Microsoft is different than the other companies. I don't know if my perception was right, but anyways, I was just gonna do my best and treat this as like the higher bar as possible.
I mean, like, to be fair, everything we're doing is literally just that, logical problem solving, right? But
Yeah,
the
yeah,
problem
yeah, yeah.
is that if we get blown up on like some random detail that's easily fixable or some random mistake, then it's like
You're right.
it's like what was like the interviewer is gonna be like, okay, well, you have some logical framework, but this is very obvious. Are you being careful or are you rushing? He's gonna be thinking something else. So we want to like completely remove any doubt from his mind that
Right.
it's like this guy can drive, like, let's say like he's running a marathon, right? This guy can fucking run a marathon, but if he trips on the starting line and breaks his leg because he didn't tie his shoes, like, what the fuck?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. What is the point?
At least remember
of
to tie your
hiring-
shoes before you run a marathon. It's like, what if Usain Bolt fucking forgets to tie his shoes? Are you gonna like fucking? Are you saying like, does this guy have dementia? Like, we think he's good, but seems something's not.
That's the
right.
basic. That's the basic. Yeah.
So we want to at least like
Correct.
remove any like fucking basic ass shit that we can remove. Like if it's giga complicated, like, and nuanced, then okay, we can forgive that. Like if Usain Bolt, like like fucking like missteps at the very last second, like, okay, fine, we get it. Like he ran like for 99% of it like perfect, and then he misstepped one, fine. But if he's fucking tripping on the starting line, then we're like, what the fuck is going on?
Sure. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You're right.
So that's the best way I can describe it. 4 days, man. I'm gonna I'm really hoping this works.
Me too, man.
Okay. And then try to schedule that Amazon interview if you can. And let me know if you want, like, if you see an Uber rule that you want to apply to, I can refer you as well.
I'll see. I think there's an opening for Sao Paulo here,
Okay.
but
Cool.
I'll check it out.
All right, sounds good. Any
Okay,
other
man.
questions, or I'll let you go?
I think that's it. I have still a lot of work. Okay.
Yeah, last
Yeah.
hurdle.
Less hurdle. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Anyways, I think that's it, man.
All right, yeah. Then I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, that's it. Any questions from the crowd? Like, it's like he's really close. Like I mentioned, like on Tuesday, he's like 60%, right? It's still like 60%. That he gets there, and then like yeah. I would put our odds at anywhere between like 1 out of 3 to 1 out of 5 of getting 1 out of 3 to 50% chance of landing this Microsoft interview. I think that's basically what we're at. Whether or not he gets the instinct, and then whether or not he actually does well in the interview that day. So, let's see what happens. If there's no other questions, then I guess I'll stop the stream. Thank you all for joining me. We'll be back here on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully getting some, like, talking to him about how he did Microsoft, or maybe some last minute prep if needed. Hopefully you guys join me for that. So if you guys need coaching as well, you can book me for coaching at echantac.com. Join me on my Discord. I'm very active there, where I'll answer any of your questions. But until then, I'll see y'all next time. Thank you all for joining me.